Little girl texted a desperate cry for help, but sent it to a number that would change her life forever. This wrong number belonged to the most dangerous man in the city. What happens next is a story of unexpected protection, buried legacies, and a war that only she can end. If you're new here, subscribe and comment your location. Now let's begin. The text came through at 2:17 a.m. Don Massimo Conti was in his study, a glass of amber whiskey untouched on the desk, his eyes on a framed photograph. It showed a woman with a bright smile and a little girl about 6 on her shoulders. The ache was a physical thing, a hollow in his chest that never filled. 5 years. 5 years since a rival's car bomb had taken them from him. His phone, a private brick of encrypted tech only 3 people had the number for, buzzed. He almost ignored it, then it buzzed again, and again, short, frantic bursts. He picked it up, an unknown number. He's hurting her. He's hitting my mom, please. Then a second, he's beating my mom. A third, a blurry, dark photo of a woman cowering on a kitchen floor, a man's leg in work boots standing over her. Something cold and sharp cut through the fog of his grief. It wasn't just the violence. It was the sheer, desperate terror in the words. The voice in his head was his daughter's. "Papa, help." His fingers, thick and scarred, typed back, "Who is this?" The reply was immediate. "Lily, my mom is Alina. Please call the police." He didn't call the police. He typed 2 words, "Send location." A map pin dropped into the chat. It was across the city in a rundown neighborhood of cramped row houses. Massimo was moving before the map fully loaded. He didn't shout for his men. He didn't grab a gun from the wall safe. He simply took the pistol from his desk drawer, tucked it into the back of his trousers, and pulled on his coat. His driver, Paolo, was asleep in the car outside the fortified gates of the estate. "Drive," Massimo said, his voice like gravel. He showed Paolo the phone. They didn't speak. The city at night was a blur of neon and shadow. In 15 minutes, they were on a narrow street. The house was number 42, paint peeling, a single light on in the back. Massimo told Paolo to wait, engine running. He didn't knock. The front door was flimsy. One solid kick from his heavy boot and the lock splintered, the door flying open with a crash. The scene in the small, messy living room froze. A large man with a red face and meaty fists was standing over a woman. Alina. She was on the floor, holding her cheek, her eyes wide with shock. In a doorway to the kitchen, a little girl with tangled brown hair and huge, terrified eyes stood clutching a cheap plastic phone. Lily. The man, Mark, spun around. "Who the hell are you? Get out of my house." Massimo didn't answer. He took in the room, the overturned coffee table, a broken lamp, the smell of cheap beer and fear. He looked at Alina. She was beautiful, even bruised, with a strength in her eyes that was fighting not to break. He looked at Lily. She was trembling. "You texted me," Massimo said to the girl, his voice surprisingly soft. She gave a tiny, sharp nod. Mark laughed, a nasty, drunken sound. "You her new boyfriend. You come to play hero." He picked up a beer bottle by the neck. "Get out." Massimo moved. He was a big man, but he moved fast, like a bear that could sprint. He didn't pull his gun. He didn't need to. As Mark swung the bottle, Massimo caught his arm, twisted it hard until the bones snapped with a sickening pop. Mark screamed. Massimo drove a fist into his stomach, then another into his jaw. The man dropped like a sack of stones, groaning on the threadbare carpet. Massimo knelt beside Alina. "Can you stand?" She stared at him, confused, scared of this new, more dangerous man in her home. "Who are you?" "A friend," he said simply. He helped her up. She winced, holding her side. Lily ran to her mother, burying her face in her leg. Massimo looked down at Mark, who was whimpering. "If you ever come near them again, if you ever even think their names, I will find you, and you will not make a sound again. Do you understand?" His voice was quiet, but it carried a finality that made the air grow cold. Mark, clutching his broken arm, could only nod, tears of pain and fear streaming down his face. Massimo turned to Alina and Lily. "Get what you need. You're not staying here." "We can't go with you," Alina whispered. "We don't know you." "You can stay here with him," Massimo said, nodding at Mark. "Or you can come with me, you choose." Alina looked at her daughter, then at the monster on her floor who was now sobbing. She made her choice. 5 minutes later, they were in the back of Massimo's car with a small bag of clothes and Lily's stuffed rabbit. They drove in silence to the Conti estate. When the iron gates swung open and the large, beautiful house came into view, Alina gasped. "What is this place?" "Home," Massimo said. He gave them the guest wing, far from his own rooms. He called his personal doctor to check Alina's ribs and Lily's scrapes. He had food brought. He didn't ask questions that night. The questions came the next day. Over a quiet breakfast, Alina told him a little. Mark was her ex-boyfriend. He'd gotten mean. She had no family. She worked as a waitress. Lily was 7, quiet, and too smart for her own good. Massimo told them only, "You are safe here, for as long as you need." And so they stayed. Days turned into weeks. Massimo, a man who commanded fear and respect from hardened criminals, found himself awkwardly trying to talk to a little girl. He'd find Lily watching him from doorways. He started leaving books he thought a child might like on a table in the hall. One day, he found her in his library, staring up at the tall shelves. "You can read any of them," he said. "I've read most of these," she said quietly, pointing to a middle shelf. He raised an eyebrow. He pulled down a heavy history book. "This one." She nodded. "The chapter on Roman aqueducts is the best." A slow, genuine smile touched Massimo's lips for the first time in years. That was the beginning. He became Uncle Massimo. He taught Lily how to play chess, and she beat him by the 4th game, using a strategy he hadn't seen coming. He listened to Alina talk about her dreams of going back to school, of being a teacher. He saw the light slowly return to their eyes, the fear fading. He also kept his world separate. When men like his consigliere, David, or his enforcer, James, came to the house for meetings, Alina and Lily were upstairs or in the garden. The business of the Conti family, the shipping, the protection, the quiet, powerful influence over the city was a world apart from the dinners they shared, where Lily would talk about her online school lessons and Alina would laugh at Massimo's terrible jokes. One evening, a year after they'd arrived, Alina found him in his study. "Massimo, we can't stay forever. We're a burden." "You are not a burden," he said, his voice firm. "You are family." Tears filled her eyes. "Why? Why did you do this for us, a man like you?" He looked again at the photo of his lost wife and daughter. "Because no one was there for them," he said, his voice rough. "I will always be here for you." It was a promise. He made it official. He used his resources, his lawyers. He adopted Lily. He married Alina in a small, private ceremony in the garden with only his most trusted men and Lily, now 8, as the flower girl. For Massimo, it was a second chance. A miracle he never dared to hope for. He built a wall between his 2 lives higher and stronger than the one around his estate. His family was his sanctuary. Lily grew. The quiet, bookish girl became a sharp, observant teenager. She understood more than Massimo realized. She saw the respectful fear in David's eyes, the way James carried himself like a weapon. She heard the hushed conversations that stopped when she entered a room. She knew Uncle Massimo, her stepfather, was a powerful man. She chose not to ask what kind of power. She loved the life he'd given them, the safety, the comfort, the feeling of being cherished. On Lily's 16th birthday, everything shattered. It was a Saturday. Alina had gone to the city center to pick up Lily's birthday cake from a special bakery. Massimo was at a business meeting. Lily was in the library, video chatting with a friend. The phone rang. It was the house line. Paolo, his voice tight with panic. "Boss, there's been an accident, a hit and run. Alina, she's at Mercy General, it's bad." The world stopped. Massimo and Lily arrived at the hospital in a blur. They were led to a bright, cold room. Alina was on a bed, machines beeping, tubes everywhere. Her face was pale. A doctor spoke words like internal bleeding and critical. Massimo held her hand. Lily stood frozen by the door, her birthday dress suddenly feeling like a cruel costume. Alina's eyes fluttered open. She saw Massimo. She tried to speak. "Don't," he whispered, tears in his eyes. "Save your strength, my love." "No," she breathed, her voice a faint rasp. She looked past him at Lily. Her eyes were full of a terrible urgency. "Lily, come." Lily stumbled to the bedside. taking her mother's other hand. "Listen, the accident it wasn't," Alina gasped, pain contorting her features. "The man years ago, Mark." "What about him?" Massimo asked, leaning close, a cold dread beginning to creep into his veins. "He was sent," Alina forced out, each word a struggle. "A message from the Rosses." The name hit Massimo like a physical blow. The Rosses. His oldest, most bitter rivals. The family he believed was behind the bomb that killed his first family. "A message for who?" Massimo whispered, his heart hammering. Alina's eyes locked on his, filled with a lifetime of regret and fear. "For me, because I ran from my father." The machines beeped faster. "Your father," Massimo's mind was reeling. Vincent Rossi," Alina breathed, the confession finally out. "I'm Alina Rossi." Massimo felt the floor drop away. Alina was a Rossi, the daughter of Vincent Rossi, the man he'd been at war with for 2 decades, the man he hated more than anyone on earth. "The beating Mark was Rossi's man, telling me to come home or else," Alina said, tears leaking from the corners of her eyes. "Then you came, you took us, you protected us from them." She coughed, a weak, wet sound. "They found me today, wanted to take me back. I refused, so they—" "No," Massimo growled, a sound of pure agony. Alina turned her fatting gaze to Lily. "My Lily, you are the heir, the only heir, Vincent's grandchild, his blood." She squeezed her daughter's hand with a last surge of strength. "Your choice, my darling, your life or your legacy." Her eyes went still. The machine sang a long, flat note. The world dissolved into screams and tears and unbearable pain. The funeral was a blur of black. Massimo moved like a ghost, a mountain of grief and now, a boiling, silent rage. Lily was a closed-off statue, her tears all cried out, replaced by a hollow look. 2 days after the funeral, Massimo called Lily into his study. David and James were there, their faces grim. "Sit, Lily," Massimo said. He looked older, the lines on his face carved deep. "Is it true?" Lily asked, her voice flat. "My grandfather is Vincent Rossi." "Yes," Massimo said. "Your mother fled that life before you were born. She changed her name. She wanted nothing to do with it. The man who hurt her, he was a warning from her father. And the accident, that was them finally coming to collect, or to punish her for defying them for so long." "And you're at war with them." "I am." Did they kill your first family too?" Lily asked, the pieces clicking together with a terrible clarity. Massimo nodded, a single stiff movement. "I believe so." Silence filled the room, heavy and thick. "What do we do?" Lily whispered. Massimo looked at her, his eyes red-rimmed but sharp. "You do nothing, you grieve, you go to school, you live the life your mother wanted for you, a safe life, a good life." "And what will you do?" she asked, already knowing the answer. Massimo's jaw tightened. The gentle Uncle Massimo was gone. In his chair sat Don Massimo Conti, a man of vengeance. "I will do what must be done, for Alina, for my first wife, for my daughter. The Rosses have taken everything from me, twice. This ends now." "It's my fault," Lily said, her voice breaking. "If I hadn't texted you, if we had just run from Mark." Massimo stood, came around the desk, and knelt before her, taking her hands. They were cold. "Lily, look at me. That text was the best thing that ever happened to me. You and your mother gave me a family again. You gave me light. This is not your fault. This is the fault of evil, greedy men. My world, the world your mother escaped." His grip tightened. "And you will not be part of it. Do you understand me? This is my fight." He stood, his decision made. He turned to David and James. "Lock it down. No one in or out without my say. Lily is not to leave the estate grounds. Understood?" "Yes, boss," they said in unison. For the next month, the estate became a fortress. Lily felt like a prisoner in a gilded cage. She watched from her window as more guards patrolled the walls. She saw the tense meetings in the study, heard the raised voices. Massimo was rarely home. When he was closed off, plotting, his phone always to his ear. Lily felt a different kind of storm brewing inside her. Grief was now mixed with a burning, restless anger. Her mother's last words echoed. "Your choice, your life, or your legacy." This quiet, protected life felt like a lie. It felt like waiting. Her mother had run and she had still been found. Massimo was going to war and he might not come back. Then what would she be? An orphaned girl with a target on her back, hiding forever. She started paying attention. She used the skills Massimo had unwittingly taught her: observation, strategy, seeing patterns. She listened at doors. She watched the security routines. She used her laptop, diving into the hidden parts of the internet, learning about the Rossi family. She learned about her grandfather, Vincent, a cruel and flashy man. She learned about his operations, his weak points. One night, Massimo came home, his knuckles bruised, a dark fury in his eyes. There had been a skirmish at a dockyard. One of his men was dead. 2 of Rossi's were in the river. "It's getting worse, isn't it?" Lily asked, meeting him in the foyer. "It's under control," he said, but he wouldn't meet her eyes. "Let me help," she said. "No," he roared, the sound echoing in the marble hall. He instantly looked pained. "Lily, please, the only way you can help is by staying safe, by being the good part of this family, the part that is not stained with blood." "My blood is Rossi blood," she said coldly. "It's already stained." He had no answer for that. He just walked away, a tired, wounded bear. That was the moment Lily made her choice. Her mother had given her a legacy, not just of fear, but of strength. Elena had chosen to run, to build a new life. Lily was choosing something else. She would not be a prize to be fought over or a victim to be protected. She would be the player. She began to plan. She knew the estate's security code was changed every week. She saw David input it one afternoon, his body blocking the keypad, but she saw the reflection in the polished surface of a picture frame. 74029. She memorized it. She waited for a night when Massimo was away on a meeting. She knew it would be a long one. She dressed in dark clothes. She packed a small bag, cash she'd taken from Massimo's desk drawer over weeks, a burner phone, a knife from the kitchen. At 1 a.m., she slipped out of her room. The hallways were quiet. She moved to a side door used by the guards. She entered the code. 74029, a green light, a soft click. She was out. The night air was cool. She didn't run. She walked calmly to the perimeter wall, to a section she knew was briefly out of the camera. Sweep every 3 minutes due to a tree branch. She counted, and when the red light of the camera swept away, she was over the wall, using an old oak tree for help. She was free, but she wasn't running away. She was going to the city. She had an address, gleaned from a document she'd seen on David's tablet, a nightclub called the Velvet Room. It was a known Rossi front. She took a bus, then a taxi, her heart pounding but her mind clear. She arrived at the club. It was loud, pulsing with music and flashing lights. She looked young, but she walked with a purpose that made the bouncer look twice. She didn't go to the dance floor. She went to the back, to a roped-off staircase leading to a VIP section. A huge man in a suit stopped her. "Private area, kid." "I need to see Vincent Rossi," Lily said, her voice steady. "Tell him his granddaughter is here." The guard's eyes widened. He spoke into an earpiece. A moment later, he nodded and moved the rope. "Upstairs, last door." Lily climbed the stairs. Her legs felt weak, but she forced them to move. She reached a heavy door. She pushed it open. The room was luxurious, all dark wood and leather. A group of men were sitting around a table, smoking cigars. In the center, in a high-backed chair like a throne, sat an older man. He had silver hair, sharp eyes, and a cruel smile. Vincent Rossi. He looked at her, and she saw her mother's eyes in his face. It made her feel sick. "Well, well," Vincent said, his voice smooth and dangerous. "The little lost lamb has come home. Come in, child, let me look at you." Lily stepped into the lion's den. The door shut behind her with a heavy, final sound. The men at the table stared. They were hard-faced, with expensive watches and cold eyes. Lily felt their gaze like a physical weight. She focused on Vincent, her grandfather. "You look like your mother," Vincent said. He didn't sound happy about it. He sounded assessing, like he was checking a piece of property. "Elena had that same stubborn set to her jaw. It got her killed, you know." The words were meant to hurt. Lily let them bounce off the wall of ice she'd built inside. "I know." Vincent leaned back, waving a hand. The other men slowly stood and filed out of the room, giving them privacy. One remained, a younger man with slicked-back hair leaning against the wall by the door. He watched Lily with open curiosity. "Sit," Vincent commanded. Lily sat in a chair opposite him. She kept her back straight. "Why are you here?" Vincent asked. "Did Conti throw you out, or did you finally realize where you belong?" "I'm here to make a deal," Lily said. Her voice didn't shake. She'd practiced this. Vincent barked a laugh. "A deal? You're a child. What could you possibly offer me?" "Information," Lily said, "and a claim." "What information?" "Massimo Conti's security schedules, the layout of his estate, the routes he takes, the names of his most trusted men." She listed them calmly. "David, his consigliere; James, his top enforcer; Paolo, his driver." Vincent's mocking smile faded. His eyes became sharp, interested. "And why would you give me that? He took you in, raised you. My men tell me he loves you like a daughter." He spat the word "loves" like it was a weakness. "He killed my mother," Lily said, and this time she let the raw emotion bleed into her voice. It wasn't hard. The rage was real. "Maybe not with his own hands, but his war with you is what got her killed. She died because she was connected to him. She died in a Rossi hit meant to punish her for being with him." She leaned forward. "You want to destroy Massimo Conti. I want that too. I can help you get inside. I can help you break him." Vincent studied her for a long, silent minute. The only sound was the muffled thump of music from below. "And the claim. When he's gone, the Conti organization will be weak, leaderless. His men are loyal to him, not to an idea. There will be chaos, a power vacuum." Lily took a breath. "You move in, you take over, but you'll face resistance, remnants, loyalists. So you install a new face, a friendly face, someone with a legitimate claim to lead what's left." She met his eyes. "Me, Elena Rossi's daughter, raised by Conti. I can unite the pieces under the Rossi banner. I can make the transition peaceful, profitable." Vincent stared at her. Then he began to laugh, a low, rumbling sound that held no humor. "My God, Elena's meek little bookworm. You have your grandfather's brains, girl, and his cold heart." He stopped laughing. "It's a clever plan, but why should I trust you? This could be a trap. Conti could have sent you." "He doesn't know I'm here," Lily said. "Check your perimeter. Are his men storming the building?" "No. He thinks I'm safe in my room, crying over my mother." She pulled the burner phone from her pocket and slid it across the table. "Here, this is the phone I used to contact you. The only number on it is the one for the front door of this club. No calls to Conti. Ever." Vincent picked up the phone, examined it, then tossed it to the man by the door. "Paul, check it. Then have someone scan the streets. Quietly." The man, Paul, nodded and slipped out. "Say I believe you," Vincent said. "What's your first piece of information? Proof of your value?" Lily didn't hesitate. She prepared for this. "Tomorrow night, Massimo is brokering a deal with the Irish, a weapons shipment. It's happening at the old Wilson Flour Mill on the West Pier, 10 p.m. He's taking only James and 3 other men. He thinks it's secret. David doesn't even know the location yet. Massimo is keeping it close." Vincent's eyes glittered. This was specific. This was valuable. "The Wilson Mill, that's a Rossi-owned property. He's walking into my house." "He doesn't know you own it through a shell company," Lily said. "The records are buried. I found them." Paul came back in. He gave Vincent a slight nod. "Phone's clean. Streets are clear. No sign of Conti's people." Vincent looked at Lily with new respect. How did a 16-year-old girl find shell company records? "Massimo taught me how to think, how to look for patterns. He just never thought I'd look at him." She held Vincent's gaze. "Do we have a deal?" Vincent steepled his fingers. "A trial basis. You give me Conti. I get the mill tomorrow night. If it plays out, then we discuss your future role." He gestured to Paul. "Take her to the safe house on Elm, keep her comfortable," and watched. Paul stepped forward. "Come on." Lily stood. As she turned to go, Vincent spoke again. "One more thing, granddaughter. Betray me, and your death will make your mother's look like a kindness. Understood?" "Understood," Lily said, and she walked out with Paul, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. Back at the Conti estate, chaos had erupted. Massimo returned home just after 3 a.m., exhausted from a tense negotiation. He went to check on Lily as he always did. Her door was slightly ajar. Her room was empty. The window was closed. He checked the bathroom. Nothing. A cold, familiar terror gripped him. The same terror he'd felt finding his first daughter's empty room after the bomb threat, minutes before the explosion. No, not again. He roared through the house. Lily. David and James came running, pulling on robes. The guards were questioned. The cameras were reviewed. They saw her. A dark ghost slipping through the hall, using the code at the side door, vanishing over the wall. She's gone, James said, his face pale. Find her. Massimo's voice shook the chandelier. Every man we have, now. Check her friends, her school, the bus stations, the train station. Boss, David said, his voice cautious. The code, she used the current code. How did she get it? Massimo froze. The question hung in the air. It meant she'd been watching, planning. This wasn't a teenage runaway. This was calculated. Her search history, Massimo snapped. Her laptop, bring it. They brought it to the study. David, a tech whiz among other things, bypassed the password. They scoured her recent activity. They found the hidden browsing. Searches for Vincent Rossi. Rossi family businesses. Shell company lookup. Maps of the city. And an address that made Massimo's blood run cold. The Velvet Room. She went to him, Massimo whispered, the betrayal a knife in his gut. She went to Rossi. Why? James asked, baffled. After what they did to Alina. David, ever the strategist, looked sick. Revenge, boss. She blames you. She blames your war. She thinks by going to Rossi, she can hurt you back. Massimo sank into his chair, the fight draining out of him, replaced by a profound, aching despair. Or she's making a play. Alina's last words, your legacy. He looked up, his eyes haunted. She's choosing her legacy, the Rossi legacy. We have to get her back, James said firmly. We will, Massimo said, but the fire was gone. His family was shattered, again by the same enemy. He looked at David. The deal tomorrow, the mill, is it compromised? David thought fast. If she told them yes, absolutely, it's a trap. Massimo's face hardened. The dawn was back. The grief was pushed down, buried under layers of cold, hard purpose. Good, let them think it's a trap for us. We'll turn it into a trap for them. He leaned forward. Here, what we're going to do. At the safe house on Elm Street, Lily was in a small, clean bedroom. It was nicer than her first home, but it was a cage. Paul was outside the door. She could hear him talking on the phone. She sat on the bed, hugging her knees. The adrenaline was gone, leaving her hollow and shaky. She thought of Massimo's face when he found out she was gone. The pain she was causing him. It was part of the plan, but it hurt. She loved him. He was her father in every way that mattered. But this was the only way. She had seen two stubborn old men on a collision course, ready to blow each other and everyone around them to bits. Her mother's way, running, had failed. Massimo's way, all-out war, would get him killed. She had to create a third way, a dangerous, terrible way that walked right into the heart of the enemy. Her burner phone was gone. She was cut off. She had to trust that Massimo would figure out her clue. She had left one buried in her search history. Among the Rossi searches, she had looked up one unrelated, specific thing, Wilson Mill's structural blueprints public record. She had bookmarked a page about the mill's faulty, outdated electrical system, a system a skilled person could overload, causing a blackout, a distraction. She hoped he would see it. She hoped he would understand she was trying to control the game, not betray him. The next day passed slowly. Paul brought her food. He didn't talk much. In the evening, Vincent came to see her. The stage is set, he said, smiling. My men are in position at the mill, hidden. Conti will walk right into it. You've proven your value, girl. What happens then? Lily asked. Then we end the Conti problem once and for all. Vincent studied her. You have no second thoughts. He raised you. He got my mother killed, Lily repeated, the mantra that kept her resolve firm. Good. Vincent turned to leave. When it's done, we'll talk about your introduction to the family business. Get some rest. he left. Lily didn't rest. She watched the clock. 9 p.m., 9:30. The meeting was at 10. At 9:45, Paul opened her door. "We're moving, come on." "Why? What's happening?" "Just a precaution. Boss wants you at a different location until the mess is cleaned up." Lily's heart sank. This wasn't part of her plan. She was being taken further away out of the action. She had no choice. She followed Paul down the stairs. Another man was waiting by a black car in the garage under the building. They pushed her into the back seat. Paul got in beside her. The other man drove. They pulled out into the night. They drove for about 10 minutes, heading toward the industrial district. Not toward the mill, but parallel to it. The driver was nervous, checking mirrors. "We're being followed," the driver muttered. Paul turned to look out the back window. "Lose them." The car accelerated, taking sharp turns. Lily was thrown against the door. She saw headlights behind them keeping pace. "It's Conti's people," the driver yelled. Gunshots cracked. The back window spiderwebbed. Lily screamed, ducking down. Paul cursed, pulling a gun from his shoulder holster. "Get to the secondary location," Paul shouted. The car swerved violently down a narrow alley between two warehouses. The pursuing car, a dark SUV, followed, its grills smashing their bumper. The impact jolted them. Their car skidded, spinning, and slammed into a dumpster with a deafening crash. The airbags exploded. Lily was stunned, her ears ringing. Smoke hissed from the engine. Paul groaned, blood on his forehead. The driver was unconscious. The doors of the SUV opened. Men got out, not Rossi's men. She saw James, his face like stone, gun raised, and David. And then, getting out from the passenger seat, Massimo. He walked toward the wrecked car, his coat flapping in the wind from the river. He looked like death itself. Paul fumbled with his gun, trying to raise it. A single shot rang out from James. Paul slumped, a red stain spreading on his chest. Massimo wrenched open the crumpled back door. He saw Lily, curled up, terrified but alive. The look on his face was unreadable, relief, fury, deep hurt. "Get out," he said, his voice flat. Shaking, Lily crawled out. She stood before him in the dark alley, the sounds of the distant city and the hissing car the only noise. "Are you hurt?" he asked. She shook her head. "No." Massimo raised a hand, and for a second she thought he might strike her. Instead, he gently brushed a piece of glass from her hair. The gesture was so familiar, so fatherly, it broke her. "The mill," she blurted out, tears finally coming. "It's a trap. They're all there waiting for you." "I know," Massimo said. "You have to call it off. Don't go." "I'm not going to the mill, Lily," Massimo said. His eyes were hard. "While Rossi's best men are waiting for me at the mill, I'm going to be somewhere else." He leaned close. "I'm going to be at his house, where he thinks he's safe, where he's celebrating catching the great Don Conti in a trap." He nodded toward the SUV. "Get in, you're coming with me. You wanted to see your legacy. Tonight, you'll see it all." The drive was silent. Lily sat in the back of the SUV between Massimo and David. James drove. Two other cars followed them, filled with Conti's most trusted soldiers. Lily felt like she couldn't breathe. The plan was spiraling out of control. Her plan had been to feed Rossi information to gain his trust, to get inside, and then she didn't know exactly. Find a way to stop the war from within. Maybe become a bridge, a peacemaker. It was naive. She saw that now, sitting in a car with armed men heading for a massacre. Massimo's plan was simple, brutal, and direct. A decoy at the mill. The real strike at the heart. "The mill," Lily whispered, unable to stand the silence. "Your men there." "Are not my men," David said calmly, adjusting his glasses. "They are independent contractors, paid to make noise, draw attention, and then disappear. Rossi's shooters will have a loud, empty victory. By the time they realize no one important was there, it will be too late." Massimo stared out the window. He hadn't looked at her since the alley. "You gave him the location. You set the trap." It wasn't a question. It was an indictment. "Yes," Lily said, her voice small. "Why?" She turned to him, tears streaking through the dirt on her face. "Because I knew you. Figure it out. I left a clue, the blueprints, the electrical system. I knew you'd see it wasn't just betrayal, it was a message. I wanted you to know the location was compromised so you wouldn't walk in blind. David glanced back, a flicker of surprise on his face. He had been the one to see the bookmark. He had shown Massimo, calling it an odd detail. They had taken it as a sign she was researching the location for Rossi, not as a warning. Massimo finally looked at her. His eyes were pools of shadow. A message? You ran to the man who killed your mother. You gave him operational secrets. You sat in his club and made a deal. What message is that, Lily? What could that possibly say except I choose them? It says I was trying to save you, she cried, the words bursting out. Don't you see? You and Vincent, you're the same. You're both going to fight until one of you is dead, and probably both. And then what's left? More fighting, more orphans, more girls texting wrong numbers. She took a shuddering breath. Mom ran and it didn't work. You're fighting and it won't work either. I had to get inside. I had to try to change the game. By becoming a Rossi, Massimo's voice was dangerously quiet. By becoming the heir, Lily shot back. The one person who could possibly end it. If I'm on the inside, if I have his trust, maybe I can stop the war. Maybe I can make it so no one else has to die. You are a child playing with fire, Massimo said, but some of the ice in his voice had cracked. He heard Alina in her words, that foolish, beautiful hope. And you got Paul killed. You almost got yourself killed. I know, she whispered, the guilt crashing down. She hadn't meant for Paul to die. He was just a man following orders. Boss, we're here, James said from the front. They were in an affluent, quiet neighborhood. Large houses set back from the street behind tall gates. Vincent Rossi's compound was at the end of a cul-de-sac. It was bigger than Massimo's estate, flashier, with marble pillars and gaudy statues visible in the manicured gardens. The 3 cars stopped a block away, hidden by trees. Men got out silently, checking weapons. Massimo turned to Lily. You stay in the car with David. You do not move. You do not speak. You watch. You wanted to see the legacy. Watch. Massimo, please, Lily begged, grabbing his arm. Don't do this, not like this. He peeled her fingers off his coat. It was done like this the moment they touched your mother. He got out. Lily watched through the window as the men, led by Massimo and James, moved like shadows toward the Rossi gates. They didn't go to the front. They split into 2 groups, scaling the walls at the sides where the cameras had already been disabled by an earlier, unseen team. David sat beside her, typing on a tablet. He had a live feed from body cameras. Lily could see the screens, green-tinted night vision, men moving through a garden. A guard patrolling, suddenly grabbed from behind, a hand over his mouth, a quiet struggle, then stillness. It was horrible. It was efficient. They reached the house. A rear door was picked. They flowed inside. The feed showed a lavish, over-decorated home. A few guards inside were taken down with suppressed shots, the sound like a cough. Massimo moved with purpose, James a step behind. They knew the layout. They had studied it for years. They found Vincent Rossi in his billiards room. He was alone, pouring a drink, humming. He was waiting for the call from the mill, the call that would tell him Don Massimo Conti was dead. The door opened. Vincent turned, a smile on his face. It froze when he saw Massimo. For a moment, the 2 old lions just stared at each other. A lifetime of hatred in one room. Conti, Vincent said, recovering, setting his glass down slowly. How did you get in here? You left the back door open, Massimo said, his voice echoing in the quiet room. You were so focused on your trap at the mill. Vincent's eyes darted. He was calculating. His men were gone. He was alone. He saw James and the others in the hallway. He was finished, but his pride wouldn't let him show fear. So you outsmarted me. For now, my men will be back. You'll never get out of this neighborhood. Your best men are at an empty mill, Massimo said, taking a step forward. The rest are dead or disarmed. It's over, Vincent. It's never over, Vincent sneered. You kill me, my son Angelo takes over, and he's twice as vicious as I am. The war goes on, you can't kill us all. I can try, Massimo said, raising his pistol. Wait, the voice came from the doorway. Everyone turned. Lily stood there, David behind her, looking apologetic. She slipped past me, boss. Lily walked into the room. She looked from Massimo to Vincent, her grandfather. Lily, Vincent said, a oily smile spreading. Good girl, you let him here. A double cross. I knew you had my blood. Shut up, Lily said, her voice trembling but clear. She looked at Massimo. If you kill him now in cold blood, you prove him right. You're just another murderer. And his son, Angelo, will come for me. He'll come for you. It never ends. She turned to Vincent. And if you kill Massimo, your men at the mill will die when they realize the trap, and Mai and his men will burn your empire to the ground. You both lose. What are you saying, child? Vincent spat. I'm saying there's a third option. Lily took a deep breath, her heart hammering against her ribs. She was in the center of the storm. You both stand down. Tonight, the war ends, now. Massimo stared at her. Vincent laughed. You're dreaming, Vincent said. Am I? Lily faced him. Grandfather, you're old. You wanted an heir, a legacy. Here I am, Alina's daughter, Conti's adopted daughter, the only person who can unite what's left of both families. Unite, with him. Vincent jerked his head at Massimo. No, with me. Lily's voice grew stronger. You, Vincent Rossi, you retire. You name me your successor. Not Angelo, me. Massimo Conti, you step back too. You let David run the day-to-day. You become an advisor to me. Both men were silent, stunned by the sheer audacity. You're insane, Vincent whispered. It's the only way you both live, Lily said. The only way the fighting stops. The Rossi organization comes under the Conti umbrella, but with a Rossi at the head. Your bloodline continues. Your empire doesn't die, it evolves. And the Conti organization gets peace, stability, and access to all the Rossi territories and operations. No more war expenses, no more funerals. Massimo was looking at her not as a daughter, but as a rival, a true rival. He saw Alina's intelligence, but he also saw a steel that was all her own. You would lead both families. I would, Lily said, meeting his gaze. With your guidance, with David's help, with a council, but the war ends tonight with a deal, not a bullet. The room was silent for a full minute. The weight of decades of violence hung in the air. Vincent was the first to break. He looked defeated, his bluster gone. He was an old man in a room full of enemies, his grand plan in ashes. Angelo will never accept it. He'll challenge you. He'll try to kill you. Then you will help me deal with him, Lily said coldly. To protect your legacy. Or I let Massimo put a bullet in you right now, and I deal with Angelo myself, with the full force of the Conti family behind me. Your choice. Vincent looked from the gun in Massimo's hand to the fierce, young face of his granddaughter. He saw the future. And he saw his own death if he said no. He sank into a chair. I am an old man, he muttered, not to them, but to himself. Alina, she would have been a better heir than Angelo. She was smarter, stronger in her own way. He looked up at Lily. You have her eyes and my brains, a dangerous combination. He sighed, a long, ragged breath. All right, a deal. I retire. I name you my successor. I will handle Angelo. Massimo still hadn't lowered his gun. He was looking at Lily as if seeing her for the first time. You planned this, from the moment you sent that text years ago. No, Lily said softly, walking toward him. She put her hand on the barrel of his gun, gently pushing it down. I planned this from the moment Mom died. I just didn't know it yet. I love you, Papa. You are my father, but this is my family too, and I'm tired of it killing the people I love. Let me fix it, please. The word Papa broke him. The wall around his heart crumbled. He saw the little girl with the plastic phone. He saw the brilliant, brave young woman she had become, standing in a lion's den trying to tame the beasts. He had tried to protect her from this world, but she had been born into it. And now she was claiming it, not with a gun, but with a deal. Slowly, he lowered the gun all the way. He nodded to James, who lowered his weapon. The tension in the room eased just a fraction. A deal, Massimo said, his voice rough. But we do it my way. A meeting, neutral ground, all the captains from both families, we announce the merger, the new leadership. Anyone who objects, he glanced at Vincent, is dealt with together. Vincent gave a slow, reluctant nod. Together. Lily let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Her legs felt weak. She had done it. She had stopped the bloodshed, for now. The meeting was held 1 week later in the conference room of a downtown hotel owned by a neutral third party. It was tense. On one side of the long table sat the Conti captains. David, James, and others, hard men who looked at the Rosses with barely concealed hatred. On the other side sat the Rossi captains, led by a furious, dark-eyed man in his 30s, Angelo Rossi. He glared across the table like he wanted to set it on fire. At the head of the table sat Massimo Conti. At the foot, in a smaller chair, sat Vincent Rossi, looking older and diminished. Lily stood at the side of the room, by the window. She wore a simple black dress. She looked young, too young. She felt every doubting eye on her. Massimo stood. The room went quiet. "For 20 years, he began, we have been at war. We have buried sons, brothers, friends. We have made orphans and widows. For what? Pride, a street corner, a shipping route." He looked around the room. "It ends today." A murmur went through the room. Vincent stood, leaning on the table. "My daughter, Alina, was the best of us. She ran from this life to protect her child." He pointed a shaking finger at Lily. "That child is Lily Conti Rossi, my blood, Conti's heart. She has shown more courage and vision in a week than most of you have in a lifetime. I am old. I am tired. I am retiring. Effective immediately, I name Lily as my successor. The Rossi family will merge with the Conti family, under her leadership." The room erupted. Angelo slammed his hands on the table. "This is a joke, a little girl. This is a Conti trick. Father, have you lost your mind?" "Sit down, Angelo," Vincent said, but there was no force behind it. "I will not," Angelo shouted. He pointed at Massimo. "He has brainwashed you. He has brainwashed the girl. This is surrender." James took a step forward, his hand moving inside his jacket. Conti men tensed. Rossi men reached for weapons. "Stop." The voice was quiet, but it cut through the noise. Lily had stepped away from the window. She walked to the head of the table, standing beside Massimo. She did not look at Angelo. She looked at the other Rossi captains, the men who were loyal to money and power, not just to the family name. "My name is Lily," she said. "Vincent Rossi is my grandfather, Don Massimo Conti is my father. I have lived in both houses. I have seen the cost of this war from both sides. My mother was killed by it." She let that hang in the air. "Angelo is right about one thing. This is a surrender. We are all surrendering. We are surrendering the endless funerals. We are surrendering the constant fear. We are surrendering a future where our children have to hide." She finally looked at Angelo. Her gaze was steady. "If you want to fight, Angelo, fight me. Not with guns. That's the old way, the way that loses money and gets people killed. Challenge me with a plan. Show me how you will make the family stronger, richer, safer. I will listen. But if your first move is violence," she glanced at James, then back at Angelo, "then you are not a leader. You are a problem, and problems get solved." The room was dead silent. She had spoken like a Dawn, calm, firm, unafraid. She had offered respect, but also a stark threat. Angelo seethed, but he saw the math. The Rossi captains were not rising with him. They were looking at Lily, considering. They were looking at the united front of Massimo and Vincent. They were looking at James's ready hand. The power had shifted. "This isn't over," Angelo hissed, but he sat down. "Good," Lily said. She looked at the table. "The merger begins now. David and—" She pointed to the smartest-looking Rossi captain. "You. Marco will work out the details of combining operations. There will be no reprisals, no purges. We are one family now. Make your money. Live your lives. Go home to your families. The war is over." It wasn't that simple. There would be arguments. There would be betrayals. Angelo would be a thorn in their side. But in that moment, with the authority of both old Dons behind her, Lily had planted a flag. A new era. Months later, Lily stood on the terrace of the Conti estate. The garden was blooming. The walls were still high, but they felt less like a prison now. Massimo joined her, handing her a cup of hot chocolate. He had taken to drinking tea, a quieter life. Angelo made a move, Massimo said quietly. Lily didn't look at him. She had known it was coming. And he tried to poach a shipment from the new Joint Port Authority. He used some of his old loyalists. What happened? James intercepted it. The loyalists were given a choice: work for the new family or leave the city with a one-time payment. They took the money. Massimo sipped his tea. Angelo was upset. He confronted Vincent at his retirement villa. And Vincent had a stroke. A mild one, he's recovering, but it scared Angelo. I think he finally saw that his father is truly done, that he's alone. Massimo paused. Angelo left the city this morning. He took a flight to Milan. He won't be back. Lily let out a long breath. One less problem. Good. They stood in comfortable silence. The sun was setting. Do you regret it? Massimo asked. Choosing this life, it's not the quiet one your mother wanted for you. Lily thought about it. She thought of the board meetings, the difficult decisions, the constant awareness of danger. She thought of the men who now looked at her with respect, not pity. She thought of the peace in the streets, the lack of news reports about gang shootings. No, she said finally. I don't regret it. Mom wanted me to have a choice. I made one. This is my legacy, and I'm going to make it into something she would be proud of. Something you can be proud of. Massimo put an arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. He looked at the garden, at the safe, quiet home he had built. It was still safe, but it was no longer just a refuge. It was the heart of something new, something born from a wrong number text, a beating, a promise, and a love strong enough to end a war. I am already proud, Lily, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I always have been. And for the first time since her mother died, Lily believed that the future, her future, might just be okay. Thank you for following Lily's dangerous journey. What would you have done in her place? Let us know in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories where one wrong text changes everything.